Alright, welcome everyone to a biology practical, and today we will be investigating the structure of a mammalian heart, and we will be using today a goat's heart to understand how our own heart functions and works. Okay, so one of the first things that you probably notice about the heart is that there are all these lines that you can see. So what do you think these lines are? Now, if you have answered that these are actually the coronary arteries, then you are correct. Okay, and you might have learned in class that these coronary arteries actually help to supply the heart with oxygen so that it can function. Now, your heart might also have some of these white deposits that surround them, and you might have guessed that these are actually the this is actually fat, okay, or fatty deposits that surround the heart. And some fat is actually, helpful because it helps to protect the heart from physical injury. But also we don't want too much fat because that can actually increase the risk of heart disease. Also, okay, so what you want to do next is to place your heart in such a way that the apex of the heart, which is the pointy part of the heart, is located on the right side of this big coronary sinus. Okay, so you don't want to be placing it the other way, otherwise the rest of this practical might be quite confusing to you. Okay, so do make sure that before you proceed, the apex of the heart is on the right side of this coronary sinus. So now we are ready to observe our heart. So we're going to pick up our heart gently and observe the top part of the heart. Okay, alright, okay, before that we should take note that this is actually the left side of the heart, and this is the right side of the heart. Okay, and it might be a bit confusing, but that's how it is because we are looking at the heart in a second person point of view. Okay, so pick up our heart and observe the top, and immediately we notice that there are 4 openings here. So I'm going to let you guys make a guess what these openings are. So, if you guys guess that these are actually the blood vessels that connect the heart to the rest of the body, then you are correct, okay? So there are 4 openings here, and they are, of course, our vena cava, our pulmonary artery, our pulmonary vein, and the aorta. So, now 2 of these are, of course, veins, and 2 of these are, of course, arteries. And these 2 will be the veins, and these 2 are the arteries. Okay, so immediately you can make some comparisons between the veins and arteries. So let's first compare the lumen. So you notice that the lumen, or the openings of the veins, are much wider than the openings of the arteries. Okay, that's one observation. Now you also might notice that the walls of arteries are thicker than the walls of the veins. And that is because the arteries, by definition, lead blood away from the heart. So it needs to have more muscular walls to withstand the higher pressure from the heart. Okay. So again, you might have learned these concepts in class, but it will be pretty cool to see some of these observations in real life. That the veins have a wider lumen and also thinner walls than the arteries. Alright? Okay, so just to help you identify the veins and arteries, so again, here we have the right side of the heart. So therefore, this vein is on the right side of the heart. So what would be the name of this vein? Yes, this is actually the vena cava. Okay, and this, therefore, the other vein would be the pulmonary vein here. All right. Okay, so we are going to proceed with investigating the flow of blood in the heart using water, which will be in the subsequent video. Okay, so now we are going to do a water tube test, okay, which will help us to identify the direction of the flow of blood. But before we do this, please check with your teacher that you are allowed to do so. Okay, so if you have access to a water tube, take your water tube, and we are first going to place it in the vena cava. Okay, so the vena cava is on the right side of the heart over here. Okay, so we're going to place it inside. I think we need a slow current of water, okay, and we're going to put it inside. And then we're going to observe where the water flows out from, okay. So, as you can see, it flows out from this vessel. So, what do you think is the name of this vessel? So, if you answered that it is the pulmonary artery, you are correct, okay, because they are on the right side of the heart. Okay, so now let's put the water tube into the pulmonary artery and see whether the water flows out the other way. As you can see, it doesn't do so very well, and in fact, you see the vena cava, there are little flaps here that obstruct the flow of the water. What are the names of these flaps? Okay, if you answer that they are valves, then you are correct. Okay, so valves actually prevent the backflow of water the other way. So the blood only flows one way from the veins to the arteries, and not the other way around. Okay, so again, you can do so with the other side of the heart. Here's the left side of the heart. So if we insert the water tube into the pulmonary vein, what you see that the water flows out here. What is the name of this blood vessel? Right. If you answered that it is the aorta, you are absolutely correct. Alright? So this shows you how water and blood flows through the heart. Okay, so for the next segment of this practical, we will be looking a little bit more closely at our heart and observing some of its internal structures. So one of the tools that we might want to have is something to cut open the heart, and a scalpel will be quite useful for this purpose. So do be careful if you are handling any sharp object as usual, okay? So again, we have here the left side of the heart and the right side of the heart, separated by this coronary sinus. So we're going to first make a nice incision on the right side here, so anyway here will be fine. Right. And a separate incision on the left side here. Now this will allow us to then compare the walls of the different sides of the heart. Okay, so now we can take a look at the walls more closely. Okay, so compare the wall here with the wall here being the right side of the heart and the left side of the heart here. Alright? What do you notice about the walls of the heart? And how would you compare the thickness of the walls of the heart between the right and the left sides? Alright, so you probably would have noticed that the left side of the heart is much thicker than the right side of the heart. Alright? And you would know that this is because the left side of the heart needs to pump blood all around the body, and therefore it requires a much higher pressure that needs to be generated in order to pump blood throughout the body, whereas the right side of the heart only pumps blood towards the lungs. And because of the higher pressure that is required, you need more muscular walls in order to withstand that pressure. Alright? Alright, one more thing that we might also want to take a look is that if you open up the heart a bit more, you might notice some of these stringy lines or stringy things that are inside the heart. Okay, so this is technically not covered in the science biology syllabus, but because they are quite visible, are actually chordae tendineae. Okay, and these are actually structures that help with the opening and closing of the valve. So these stringy structures here, these are the chordae tendineae. Alright, so with the permission of your teacher, you can go ahead and make more detailed observations of your heart by making more cuts or playing around with it a little bit more. And hopefully through this practical, you gain a better understanding of how the heart actually functions, how it pumps blood, and the various structures within it.